Folks, I just changed my mic. Can you confirm you can hear me?
Okay, we are live. Hey everyone, this is Hari. Welcome to the webinar of Recruit Hidden Talent How and Why. We have Rishi and John with us. There's a slight change in the panel. Prasad is not joining us, and John will cover for Prasad. I will let the panels.
Accidental panelist.
Accidental panel. So the panel, you start with your introduction first, and then we'll go to Rishi.
Hello, everyone. This is John. Currently, I run this company called The Solutions. Before this, I come with 20 years of experience. My first 10 years was with, as most of us started with consulting, and then I got an opportunity to work for companies like Yahoo and Amazon. And last 10 years, I've been stuck with startups where I was bent and broken. I'm sure for a better professional shape. My last job was with Cred, where I was heading talent, technical talent hiring for Kunal Shah. Happy to have here with you and Rishi, Hari. We'll talk more about the experiences.
Yeah, Rishi.
Hi everyone, my name is Rishi Banerjee. I currently lead talent acquisition at Atlin, especially for the engineering, product, and design teams. Been doing so for a little bit over 2 years, building Atlin. Overall, 18 plus years in the industry, have seen agency, have seen in-house, have seen executive search. So very excited for this webinar and looking forward to discussing more with everyone over here.
Sure. So Rishi and John will keep the event very simple. The 30 to 40 minutes, we'll have our views and thoughts, and then we will pick the questions from audience also. Maybe we'll pick some questions from audience in between the session also. So audience, you can leave the questions in the chat window, and I will pick the questions, and I'll ask Rishi and John about their thoughts. So let's get started. The first thing which I wanted to ask John to you, is there any position, or is there any candidate where you put the candidate in the pipeline and the candidate has come in a very unique way, offline, online, you met in the bar, you met in the flight, you met in the hotel, whatever it is, right? One unique channel or one unique way that you identified a talent, and the talent has converted into your talent pipeline. Forget about offer, hire, and all those stuff.
Sure. I mean, I think I can give many examples because most of my hiring has been human to human, right? There are many examples that I can quote, but I remember one thing, right? When I was working at Noon Academy, which was a Saudi edtech company, and we were trying to use any of the evaluation platform which helps us in the coding screening. Then we got in touch with HackerRank, and we were wanting to or take HackerRank help in evaluating for the coding. And we had a sales spoke who was talking to us. And then this interesting thing happened that I started conversing with the guy, and he had good tech acumen. I asked him, hey, you come from sales background, but you're talking about how do you evaluate folks on data structures, algorithms, in design architecture? I mean, why is that? Is this because of your profession that you were keen in learning all things, or these things, right? Then I got to know that he was a computer science grad. No, he was a +2 guy, and he picked up interest in coding. He couldn't land up in a software job because he did not have a formal degree. And then because he couldn't land up in a software job, he actually started working with HackerRank as a sales rep. And then he sent me his repositories and his contributions on HackerRank. I was like blown away, right? And then I actually discussed with my hiring manager, who was then sitting in the Saudi, and we said, I told him that this guy's rank is better than many other engineers that we are interviewing. We should give him a chance for an interview. And finally, we onboarded him. He worked with Noon Academy for like 3 years. Then he moved on to Dubai. He worked for some other company. Right now, he's working as an architect in France, right, without even having a formal computer degree or any other graduation degree.
And that's the first tech job for him, from sales to tech?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay. Nice. And also, I remember for a very short stint, I ran a company in 2011 in Hyderabad. So I was just having a chai on a street, and there was one young guy who was like well groomed, and he was talking to someone on phone. I overheard the conversation, and I said, boss, looks like you're looking for jobs. What are you doing? He said, I recently got my engineering done in computer science, and he couldn't land up in a software job, and he was working in a country club resort as a call center agent, right? I asked him, what are you specialized at? Do you know some programming? Do you know some databases? Right? He said that he's very good in academics, but for some other reason, he couldn't end up in a software job. Then there was a customer of mine at that point in time who was looking for, SQL database interns. Right. Then I said, I picked him up, took him to the customer. I said, this is the guy who is really very good in what he does, because I initially spoke to him on his tech acumen. He was decent, right? I knew given an opportunity, given a seat on the table, he will definitely crack the interview. And then when I took to him, the client was very happy. He onboarded him. He's right now in Germany working for the same company, right? It's been 12 years he's working for the same company. So it is always not about the hidden talent, right? It is about identifying that right person, and also from the candidate side, they should also get a seat able to showcase their expertise.
Got it. Rishi, you have anything to share?
Yeah, I think I have something very interesting, and thank you, John, for sharing those anecdotes. This was a few years back, right? And one of my recruiters in my team came up to me and said, I want you to take a look at 3 profiles that I think are a great fit for a role that we were trying to hire. And I was blown away by the profile, because not just were they a very good fit, but just reading the profile, you could see a lot of cultural alignment to what we were trying to build at that time as well as a team. And naturally, I was curious. I said, hey, where did you find them? Because the other recruiters have been struggling for the same profile. And I was amazed. This this person looks at me very candidly and said, I found them on Tinder. and I was like, yes, we can argue like, hey, what were you doing on Tinder, especially in a professional capacity? But just the creativity, and maybe he was on Tinder for personal reasons, but he could actually navigate and find people, right? Which is like really, really creative. So that's an anecdote that I have based on my experience that I think is a very, very rare place to find talent, because I mean, that's not a source that you would consider. That being said, people who are listening into this, please don't go to Tinder, create a profile, and then give me an angry call and say people around me are not happy. But I'm just sharing an experience that I had in the past.
Yeah. So by the way, there are a lot of tech products, Rishi, recruiting tech products try to do that Tinder kind of a model, swipe in, swipe right for the matches.
There were a few in the past as well, correct?
Yeah. So so if you look at your example and John's example, right? So these are not passive talent. Maybe they are a passive talent, but hidden somewhere, which are we are not reaching out to them. So there's a lot of confusion, right? Difference between a passive talent or a hidden talent. Is this the same, or like GCCs and captives, people say both are same? Is it the passive and hidden talent same, or it's totally different? Rishi, how do you see this?
So the way that I look at it is, hidden talent is talent that doesn't surface on your searches, that doesn't surface directly when you're looking for them. Passive is you have found them, you think they're a good fit, but they are not responding maybe, or they are just not interested in talking about a new role at this point of time. But hidden is a completely different pool altogether. There are a lot of studies also, and I saw a few articles also that says there's a hidden job market, and then there's a visible job market for people who are trying to apply as well, right? Similarly, I think there's a hidden talent pool, and then there's a passive talent pool, and obviously we all know about the active talent pool. So for me, they're different.
John, how about you?
So I would rather categorize this talent into three different categories, right? Number one is shouting talent, right? जहाँ पे resume में लिखा है कि this is the guy, right? Comes from a premium college, have worked with great companies, have solved critical problems, right? उसको तो कोई भी hire करेगा, okay? So this is shouting talent. Second one is mumbling talent, right? You can categorize that as passive talent, right? Where they're like, they don't have conversation, they are there, not very active in the market, right? And the third category is whispering talent, right? Which is that hidden talent, right? Ki aapko pata nahi, this guy is doing great job, because coincidentally most of my hires are not from premium college. These are great hires. Right? Because this is the whispering talent that I keep on talking to people, understand their stories, right? One thing to actually nurture this whispering talent, when you have conversations with these people, right? You have to see, generally in recruitment fraternity, what we does is we think from the company standpoint, right? Ki hame ek job hai, hame dhoondna hai, right? But I do the other way. When I start talking conversations with people, with candidates, right? What I do is I ask them कि यार भाई आपका aspiration क्या है? आपने जिंदगी में क्या solve किया? And what is that you want to do in your life? Right? That's when this whispering hidden talent opens up to you and talks more about what kind of conversations. I can share this example. I was randomly running a campaign for one of the senior architect role, and I got a call I got a response from a guy at 1:00 in the night. Right? And me and my friend was doing something for our company, and the guy responded. I just texted him, "Hey, let me know what's your availability for next day." Right? He said, "Hey, John, if you're free, we can have a conversation." So he's that tech geek, right, who is available 1:00 in the night and is ready to have a conversation. We had a 90 minutes chat, and he's no more visible in the on the social media. But this is the guy who has built one of the biggest OTT in India, right? He has built 2024 IPL season streaming, where where there were 25 million concurrent users.
Nice.
right? I couldn't help him land a job because of the kind of complex problem that he has worked. The role that I proposed did not excite him. But this is someone. If someone is looking at any live streaming architect, right? This is the guy.
So there's the talent categorization you have done, right? So there are certain specific roles. Like Rishi, if you talk about executive recruiting, right? So now these are the leaders. They're neither available on the internet. They don't respond to your LinkedIn email messages. These are. Can we say that this leadership hiring at a C-suite level or one level below C-suite who are not available on internet, or some of the roles where people are quite traveling, they don't have a time to check internet or your WhatsApp messages or emails or something like that. Can we categorize them to hidden talent? If we categorize, how is that recruiters do this kind of a hiring? Executive recruiters, how do they really build the talent pool from this particular persona?
Sure. So my view is, if you can identify them, they're no longer hidden talent, right? Let's talk about how do you engage such talent. So the examples that you quoted was maybe C-suite people, or people who are like just CXO -1, etc. People who are traveling, right? I think the way to look at this is why are they not responding? For example, like we find them, we reach out to them. Yes, we can argue that, hey, maybe they're traveling and they're too busy checking their email or answering their phone calls, etc. Right? But also spend some time thinking about why are they not responding? Put themselves in your shoes, right? Maybe they're just too happy where they are. Maybe they are on a mission and have a passion for building what they're currently building, so don't want to entertain recruiters, right? So the way that I typically look at engaging with that talent is definitely more like a networking opportunity to engage with such CXO -1 talent. Second is also spend some time thinking about what kind of outreach emails, or how are you kind of trying to engage them on a cold email, right? For example, if you just say, hey, I have a CFO role, would you be interested? 90% or more of the time, people will not respond back, right? So how do you package that also becomes very important. Like a recruiter has to be a great storyteller as well for them to position the overall opportunity and how to engage people as well. There are also nuances as to how many times should you really tap on that talent once you have reached out, etc. And maybe we'll talk about that in more details during this conversation. But that's the way that I would look at it, to be honest, Hari. To answer your question directly, it's about what's in it that they should engage with you, and how do you position that for you to be able to get that conversation flowing.
So continue to this, right? So Rishi, when you talk about cold email outreaches and all this stuff, or WhatsApp communication, or whatever it means, could be, right? Where do you draw the line after certain touch points? I'll quit here, I'll exit here, rather than candidate feeling like you're stalking them or something like that.
Well, good question. And that's what I touched upon, right? I think the rule of thumb, which I use personally, is maybe 3 to 4 follow-ups, right? And time them strategically so that if somebody is traveling, maybe send one email or schedule an email that goes over the weekend. So that they might not be traveling during this time frame, so on and so forth. But I think 3 to 4 times. So original email with 3 follow-ups. I think that's where I would draw the line, and then revisit after 6 months again.
Revisit after 6 months. Okay. Got it. John, did you try something like this? And
I think I was part of Belong as an SME, the kind of experiments that we have done.
Correct.
Insane in personalizing that email approach, right? I mean, I think initially when we were doing it manually, we used to do a lot of research on candidates and their personal likings, right? And we used to look for a hook, that we should start a conversation with the candidate. I'm sure, Hari, I've shared that with you. If you want to send it to audience, please feel free to, right? Because you remember there was like different subject lines, different ways of So I mean, we used to say, "Hey, I really liked your playlist on YouTube," right?
Right.
Then
Yeah.
then you say, I mean, we have a lot of similar likings. By the way, I work here at Belong. So there was a lot of hyper personalization in reaching out to, I think after Belong, I couldn't find really good product that I can definitely watch on, right? So generally, my approach is I pick up phone and talk to people at their peer group that I know, if they can help me find out that person who can be a better fit, right? And that's my because I'm an old school guy, so that's my approach. But I think very recently I got introduced to what ID Hire is doing. I think that's where I thought there was similar. I mean, I'm not saying that there are some products in the West, right? But after Belong in the Indian ecosystem, I did not find the right product which was doing hyper personalization of the cold reach outs to the prospects.
Right. No, so with the technology coming in, right? Gen AI and OpenAI, ChatGPT thing, right? So I think, do you think this hyper personalization thing, once upon a time it was a very niche when Belong was there, right? So it was very good to have, right? So it was a wow feeling. Now, do you think it's like it's looking like a spam to the candidates? Candidate knows that where this email is coming from. This is not a human written or something like that. Especially when we are talking about hidden talent or maybe passive talent or both this talent which we are talking about, whispering, non-whispering talent, right? They can easily find out that how it is coming, where it is coming, and all the stuff, right? So now, where do you see the technology here in engaging this or nurturing this hidden talent and passive talent? Rishi, you may want to pick this up.
I think hyper personalization at scale is still something. I think I lost power. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but cannot see you.
Okay. So hyper personalization at scale is still something that the industry is trying to master, right? And I think we'll get there sometime soon in the future. But today, it's not where I would be comfortable doing it. I would rather, and just like John said, I'm an old school guy too. So I would rather go back to my original list of people that I'm reaching out to, and rather spend time to not have a template that I can just edit a few things and send out, but rather look to create a connection. Now, when you try to do that, and when that comes out evidently in the outreaches that you do, then that question of, can somebody figure out if it's AI doing it for me, etc., I think that can be eliminated to some extent, right? Because you genuinely care, you have actually put in the 10 minutes required to be really able to connect with this candidate at a particular level, right? So that's the way that I have done it in the past. That's the way that I continue to do it, Hari and John. But I do agree that there are a few tools that are really, really kind of helping us do hyper personalization at scale, at least for a few roles, if not all roles. But I think there's a long way for us to, as an industry, to go there.
Got it. So then, John, there is another set of talent pool, which is, we call it as a silver medalist. People who have come very close to meet your bar, but somehow we didn't make that hiring decision. We didn't make that hiring call or something like that. So the talent, eventually what happens as you use as the days progress, right? So they are hidden somewhere, right? So until they become active again and shows up in the job board or a LinkedIn open to work or something like that, they are hidden somewhere. Okay, I don't know whether we call them as a hidden talent or whatever it is, but there is a certain talent pool which largely people ignore, that part of a talent pool kind of a thing, right? So is there anything which you feel them they're also hidden talent, or how do you categorize the talent, and how is that you in your career, have you done something unique or to activate the talent pool and convert into active pool?
Yeah, so I mean, I think one thing is I'm also very eager to see how data labeling will solve this problem using tech and tools in the future. But the way that I approach is, rather than having transactional conversations with the candidates, what I try to do is I try to build relationships.
Yes.
Right. So this, I mean, I'm not saying that yeah, I am the ideal persona of a recruiter. I also miss giving feedback to candidates. I also have experiences where I ended up being in the wrong foot with the candidates. Right. But most of the times, right, I will try to give feedback to the candidates and the rationale behind why we are not going ahead. And so this guy knows. So as long as you build that relationship with the candidate, right, next time when he is looking out, or next time when you see that there is a role which might match his expertise, right, that's when you will be able to go to the guy and say that hey, there is again this opportunity which is popping up, will you be able to do? So I'll tell you one of my example is there was a senior leader at a CXO level who declined my offer thrice. Okay, we still maintain good relationship. He declined my offer thrice, right? Just because he declined my offer, it doesn't mean that he did not give me a good explanation. He has his reasoning for why he did it, right? But I still kept.
You were not emotional, right? He teach me, this is not the way to do.
No. I mean, there was instances, Hari, where I suggested guys that by after the offer is made, when people had many questions, right? I suggested myself कि boss देखो लगता है कि this is not the right job role for you. I don't want you to pick this up. Right? I'll tell you a very good example. So Cred में we were.
I think we lost John. You can hear me, no, Rishi?
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's give him a minute.
Let's give him 30 seconds to see if he can.
Yeah, sure. I'm just texting him.
I'm guessing it's a power problem. I'm experiencing the same.
Sure, no problem. So Rishi, you have done something about the silver medalist. How do you? So when it comes to the data, labeling is one part of it, but as the data accumulates, right, the talent also get hidden in the overall pool. How is that you approach towards this pool? How do you tell your team members, or how you ensure that the talent is getting lost?
Sure. I think 2-3 elements here, right? First is, let's define silver medalist as an org, as a function. How do we define silver medalist, right? Is anybody who is entering the pool, can they be considered silver medalists because they've entered the pool, maybe have 1 or 2 rounds of discussions, etc., and they're engaged by your team? Or do we say they completed the entire interview process and then we made an offer to somebody, but we're like, if the first person doesn't work out, this is our plan B, etc., right? So how do you, as an organization, as a team, as a function, how do you define silver medalists, right? Now, the second element is, will you have roles that are similar in nature wherein you can leverage that talent, maybe after a quarter, maybe after a year, etc., right? So that's the definition as to how you should look at what does silver medalist mean for us in this particular context. And then second is, look, we've all heard stories or we've all heard recommendations that the first place that a recruiter should start sourcing once they have a new role is their company ATS, right? In some cases it works, in some cases it does not work as well. Especially if it's a large team, you'll have people who will own candidates. There's a timeline around which recruiters will own candidate, etc. So it may not work as well. But the whole idea is, going back to what John and I were mentioning as well, that how do you create the right connection and engage with the candidate in the right way? Now, if you do that, whether they're gold medalist, silver medalist, bronze medalist, doesn't really matter, because remember, you're evaluating them for a particular job role, right? Which may or may not always be the best for them as well. And they might not be the best fit for the job as well. It works both ways, right? So as long as you continue to engage people, as long as you continue to build your network, I think you can always connect those dots as you look to grow. To answer your question more directly, Hari, I think it's not just silver medalists, but everybody who enters the funnel. How do you engage with them? Because if they've entered the funnel, there's a certain reason why they have entered the funnel. Maybe
Correct.
some other role comes up, something else comes up, right? So that's the way that I look at engaging silver medalists.
Yes. So Rishi and John, one thing is very clear, that the talent which we're talking about, Indian talent, right? There's no Boolean search, no X-ray search can find these candidates, right? You can have these training sessions on Boolean searchers, X-ray searchers, sourcing text, using the sourcing tech platforms. This is one side of it, right? So that is where majority of your talent pool comes in. But then when you are managing your teams, or when you are managing your recruiters, right, you can't have a KPI saying that I want 10% of the hidden talent pool coming, I want 15% of the passive talent pool coming in, because people come with the stories, no, I found a hidden talent, I met this guy there, and all. There's no validation or something like that. That is something what John and you mentioned about the example like Tinder one, or a John hacker and sales guy and all the stuff, right? So it is about the knack of scouting, and then nurture, put them in the pipeline and closure, right? Today, how do you convey this message, or how do you help your recruiters pick these things? Do you do in your one-on-one sessions, or is there any specific training sessions you do? How do you really make this happen at a scale where your entire org is thinking in those directions? John, you want to start?
Yeah, I think, see, from the business and hiring managers, they don't care where you get the talent from, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't even care and I'm reaching out to 10, 15 people for the future prospect. If you're lucky, if you have a hiring manager who makes you think in that direction, right? Hey, we might need this talent pool for that product, which is slated in Q3, right? You're completely lucky, blessed to have a hiring manager or a business leader who makes you think in that direction. And coming to your question, Hari, on how do you help your team do this, is to help them understand what is recruitment, right? We are not here to just fill the seats in the office, right? We are here to build business. Right, one wrong hire, stat says, subject to correction, stat says that if you do a wrong hire, there is a possibility that your complete business metrics get hit by 28%. I'm talking about a leadership role. I think it is about educating, talking to your team on why is it important to build relationship and how do you go about. So it is also about not what you see on the profile, right? I want to quote an example here. We were hiring for a principal engineer at same Noon Academy, a tech company, and Noon was building a social learning platform. Now, I was looking for people who has worked in the social platforms, and then I accidentally got to see a guy who was working at Walmart as a distinguished engineer, right? And he was way senior for the role that we were looking for, a principal engineer. Now, what is very interesting about this guy is he's a US return. He worked in US for a NetTech company. And interestingly, that guy has worked on building retail graph for Walmart e-commerce business globally. Right? And we didn't had a role for him at a distinguished engineer level. So I actually, he met the team and he felt that, no, this is not the right thing. Then I requested him for a one-on-one catch up, right? I went, met him, right? I spoke to him. I helped him understand why is this important that your experience come handy because of the EdTech, and he's not from a great college. He's not from a premium college, right? EdTech, worked with some startups, went to Walmart, built this social graph, and then there was no role for a distinguished engineer. I took that profile, went to the founders, helped them understand that, hey, this is the guy who comes with a mix of both EdTech, functional knowledge and building social graph, right? And then they started conversation. Eventually, we ended up hiring him as a chief architect. Now, as a TA team, when we understand the business, right, when we understand what kind of problems that we are solving for the business, then you will be in a position being a strategic partner with the hiring managers or the business leaders on, setting up the funnel for them.
Got it. So you're saying that building a business acumen is key for finding any talent. It could be a hidden talent. very good.
that's actually for your why and how, right? If you जब आप धंधा समझते हो तो आपको पता चलेगा कि यार ये बंदा यहाँ fit होगा. Now you have to give that reasoning to the hiring manager also why you think so. That's why when we present a profile to the hiring manager right now to the customers, right, we give our opinion why we think that this guy is a good fit for your role. And not from chat GPT, but हमारे conversation में जो आता है, right? Right? ABC reasons that I think this is the reason why I feel that this guy is a good fit. And you can only do all this, all this connecting dots when you understand एक business की तरफ से what is that they want to do and the kind of talent that they want to hire, and also you understand candidate aspiration. Right? In a professional corporate setup, I say we are matchmakers. In my close circles, I say we are चौकीदार्स. Right? हमें मैनेजमेंट से पता चलता है कि किस लोगों को अंदर आना, whom we should let them in, and on the other side we will also inquire कि भाई आप क्या करते हो, why are you wanting to come in, right? So
when did you start your career, John?
Sorry,
when did you started your career?
2006.
2006. Okay. Now, so Rishi, that time LinkedIn is just evolving, right? So John, maybe I started in 2000.
I started in 2006 as well, by the way.
So there was no technology. There's not much of technology, right? So Naukri, JobStreet, Jobs.
No, so that's essentially like, to go back to your question, Hari, right? In terms of how do you really figure this out as a recruiter or as a recruiting leader, right? I think go back to basics. We've all grown up, at least I think people who have started in the early 2000s, maybe. We have significantly grown up trying to map organizations, trying to understand which talent lies where, right?
Right.
And that's a trait that has helped us a lot as we have grown through our careers as well. I'm sure John will also agree here, right? So as you map, a lot of this hidden talent, as we are describing on this discussion today, becomes visible to you as well. Now, they might not come up in a Boolean search string, but you know that this talent exists, right? So that's a way to evolve your talent pool. The other aspect will be, look, hiring managers, as John said, you are lucky if you have a hiring manager who can actually partner with you in this way that he mentioned. But there's also other ways to engage a hiring manager, right? So a lot of times, we might just have them go out and post something on LinkedIn about the role that they're hiring, right? Just get eyeballs on that. That opens up some portion of a hidden talent for you. At the same time, like we've done what we call as sourcing jams or sourcing sessions, wherein we said, hiring manager, bring your team. We'll just go through your LinkedIn first degree and second degree and maybe third degree connections to see what kind of talent exists, right? That we can map. So that's another way. Obviously, employee referral is the most and the most. It's also, how do you enable such referrals? Right? How do you ensure that you have more quality referrals coming into the funnel than referrals for the sake of referrals? That's also something like, as we plan employee referral policies, as we plan employee referral strategies, etc. I think that's important as to how do you break it down for people who may not have a recruiting background, be able to kind of really drive that further. So these are a few areas or ways in which you can actually expand the talent pool rather than what's just visible when you do a Boolean search out there.
So one thing, right? So, we all know that there's so much of pressure from hiring managers to find the talent quickly. They need immediate joiners, business at risk, product at risk, etc., etc. Then you have your recruiters naturally driving towards job boards, LinkedIn and other stuff, right? So with so much of pressure around recruiters on finding the talent quickly, finding the talent easily, and then putting those pipeline. Friday comes very fast, then we have a review meeting with the hiring manager. We have to show that in the Excel sheet, interview level 1, level 2, resume to be reviewed. Resume to review, ज़्यादा number डालेंगे तो hiring manager उल्टा pressure डाल सकते हैं, and the meeting will be easy. With all these dynamics happening and all, right? How do you really push your recruiters, or not push, but drive them to have this approach of, hey, we look at a talent as a talent. There is nothing. Labeling is it doesn't matter here, right? Hidden, passive, active, etc.
Yeah.
It's all about nurture tell the talent that why we are reaching out to you, why you are a fit, and putting them in the pipeline and helping them navigate through the interview process by giving the tips and tricks and all the stuff, right? So how do you tell? So even you call the team members, like in the meeting they say, yeah, very good hidden talent, passive talent, we will do this, we will do that. We all know that at the end of the day what they will do. But how do you drive this behavior as a part of your hiring culture, right? That there is a hiring which goes beyond your Boolean X-rays or a job board searches, etc. There is a pool available, plenty of pool. How do you convince those people, Rishi?
So I think the talent or the HR leadership also has to understand this the way that we are talking about it, right? Now, for organizations that understand this, they try different kind of techniques, maybe. Like some organizations will have a very dedicated sourcing team that works very independently of the recruiters, right? So they kind of map up a sourcer and a recruiter 1:1 ratio, sometimes 1:2 ratio, etc. Right? That's one way of doing it. The other way that I think is a lot more easier to implement is just have a 80-20 ratio, or follow the rule of 80-20 with your team as a leader, right? So 80% is BAU. Like the funnel cannot be dry because you're trying to find hidden talent, so to say, right? But at the same time, can you reward your team members? Can you reward your recruiters by saying, if we can get people who fit in that 20% bucket and they are like high impact talent, right? That can come in and really help us increase the talent density across the entire org or the function. You actually have a specific reward plan for your recruiting team once they are able to do that, right? How you structure that becomes important as a talent leader, as a recruiting leader. But I think that's an easier way to implement it, because even if you get a sourcing team that's independent to your recruiting team, there's no guarantee this is going to happen, right? So on the other hand, how do you reward your recruiters who can actually do this while running BAU? I think that makes a lot more sense, and that's what we have been trying to do in a few of my last organizations, including Ackland as well.
John, what was your take on this? Did you try something great or known to?
No, I mean, I think the problem with our fraternity on a whole, Hari, is that we do not try to get to that partnership level where we are strategic partners with the business, right? I read it somewhere. Okay, the role of a backfill is not open on the day when hiring manager releases that role to you. That role opened up when the hiring manager had a hard conversation with that team member 3 months back.
Yeah.
Right? Do we have that level of partnership with the hiring managers? Do we really earn that respect with business teams to that level where... So generally, most of our hiring which happens is all reactive. Okay, hiring manager ने open किया, थड़ा resume से लेके आओ, submit करो, कहाँ से लेके आ रहे हो, right? I think my thing is, while we all use these tools and techniques to enable our hiring processes, right? What we need to step up is being that strategic level partners with hiring managers and the business leaders to build the team. I'll tell you another example. The roles did not open up to you when the hiring manager comes and tells you, boss, a quarter ka ye hiring planner hai. The roles were open when the business leaders did AOP planning in the month of March or February. Right? They have some roadmap for their product releases and kitna resources chahiye. They all knew when the AOP planning happened in Feb, March.
Correct.
Now, will the recruitment team and the TA leaders get an opportunity to be part of those strategic meetings at that level? Right? Is what something that I want all our fraternity, tools, techniques, right? अच्छा है use करने के लिए, enable करने के लिए, right? But if you earn this respect, and if you can create that environment where hiring managers and the business leaders trust you to that level, that okay, we have to discuss this with the TA folks also while we are doing this business planning, right? That's when we up our game. So in my close circles, people know that I use this statement कि यार हमें आजादी तो मिली है, इज्जत कमाना अभी बाकी है, right? So our pursuit should be to earn that respect, where we become strategic partners with the business leaders while we help them build the organizations.
Just to
So, but
close,
that's
have a
how
seat on the table.
seat in the table. So that's how the hiring culture. Every company will have the one is an R culture. Then there is a, if you look at it from function side also, right? There should be a hiring culture which needs to be defined like that, right? How do you partner with your stakeholders? How the stakeholders also partner with the talent and all this stuff. But a very interesting question from audience, Gaurav Gaur. Any thoughts on an early alert model which could predict when Mr. or Ms. XYZ could be ready for a considering change, consider like a decision tree basis past choices and lot of constant like individual tenure, R tenure, etc.
So I'll take that one up.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the Salesforce ecosystems, there are apps that you can build. I think now they have it embedded as well, which says propensity to buy, right? Like all of your leads or prospects, and it will kind of give a score and say, this is the propensity to buy your product at this point of time, right? Something similar for your applicant tracking system, maybe, or some, maybe your social sites, etc. But I think there are just so many nuances. And remember, we are dealing with people who will have emotions, who will have other companies chasing them, etc. Right? So to answer Gaurav's question directly, it's an indicator, but I don't think it can be a decision-making factor. But makes sense, right? I mean, if you can have some kind of logic embedded into your system which says these are the 20 people who might really be open to hear about a new role right now, definitely makes sense, makes life easier for the recruiter. But again, going back to the thought of, if you engage with your audience or your candidates better, you don't need a system to do this for you, right? How do you do it at scale as an individual is a question, obviously, but you don't necessarily need a system. Like people should be able to just text you and say, hey, I'm thinking. Right? That's the kind of engagement that we should look forward to. Gaurav, I hope that gives you my views on the question.
Yeah. Another question from Neeraj Sharma. How we pitch candidates about the R-Nation is really the most important. They see R-Nation through the recruiters interaction. This sets the entire stage end-to-end hiring, John. So this is again coming to your point about business acumen. You want to add anything?
Correct. Yeah. And also, I'll take Gigi's question also, right? While I agree with Rishi that these are all just indicator scoring that any platform can give as of now. So Gigi, to others also, there's an interesting conversation that I had when I was in Belong, right? While we were building this prediction model on what percentage of probability that the guy will be willing to. So there was like some science to it on LLMs that they've built, where banda agar recently, if he's looking at a job role on LinkedIn or any other web pages, then there is a probability. So I think that has to be evolved yet, right? Because there is a good prediction in sales, right? I'm sure most of us experience that Amazon mein hum jaake Nike shoes dekhte, and then the next page that we open, Hindu paper mein ye Nike ka ad aata hai. There is a good probability that you click that, and they have some science around what is the percentage that John is going to buy that shoe that he searched on Amazon. Because the difference between someone buying a product which has nothing to do in your life than spending some 2,000 rupees versus you changing a job, there is a big difference.
Yes.
Right?
A shoe is just one instance in your life that doesn't have any impact, right? Shayad aapka credit card 2,000 बढ़ जाएगा, right? Which you know that you can easily recover. But
Correct.
Someone to really predict, some tool to really predict, right? This guy is going to make a life-changing decision of changing a job. I think I'm still eager to waiting to see that kind of model, right? Which tells me that ye banda 100% is looking for a job.
Yeah, and that model is tough when it comes to the sales, right? I do sales. I'm sure Gaurav also do sales. We both are into sales predominantly, coming from recruiting background. There are a lot of signals which comes when we build recruiting tech products. When we build a customer persona, one of the signals I look for is companies which are actively hiring. Last 1 week, how many jobs they posted. how big is the talent acquisition team. So these are the signals which is easy to identify from a selling perspective or from your shoe example perspective, John. But from a recruiting perspective, I may be in my organization for 12 years or 15 years, okay? But the moment you touch the candidate with the right opportunity, saying that, hey, we are building something similar you have done, but at a much larger scale or a bigger scale or something like that, then it will catch my attention, right? So, yeah.
I have a different opinion. The example that I wanted to share, I missed out, right? When I was in CRED, hiring for a group technical program manager, there was this gentleman, 18 years of experience. Last 7 years, he's been with Microsoft, right? In the initial conversation, I told the guy that, hey, this is a life-changing decision for you, right? Because the companies that you have worked, the products that you have released, they had a proper roadmap. They have larger sprint cycles, release cycles, right? But but then he said that, hey, you know what? I think this is the time for me in my career that I get into a company like this, which is in a growth stage. I said, okay, well, wonderful. We got him into the interview process. Obviously, he told everyone and he was offered. Offer के बाद 1 week, the guy went silent. I kept on, nudging him. Ki, Kya hua? I know you are busy. Right after on the 8th day, he messages me, John, can we have a conversation? When I went on a call, right, he said that, John, I'm getting anxiety, sleepless nights, right, because my life is very settled, right? I have a good job, good work-life balance. And the anxiety of thinking that I might get into a organization which is at a growth stage where cycles are fast. I told him an example of CRED doing that cylinder campaign in just 22 hours from ideation to release, where it hold like burning of 1 billion coins, right? So I mean, he really had that anxiety that my work-life balance, spending time with his kids who are in college, right? Everything gets screwed up. Right? I myself suggested that, hey, I think, buddy, you have to stay where you are, right? Because this is definitely going to be a marathon run for you, and if you have that capability and capacity to run with the folks, you're most welcome, right? But unless you don't set your mind space free that you want to get in, right? I think, Hari, that's again a different signal, right? Because see, it is not just as easy as buying a shoe, right? We had this conversation at the initial stage. We went through the interview process, and again, like I always tell this example, ki interview is like dating, right? Taking a job offer is like marriage, right? Dating में आप कुछ भी बोल लेते हो, कुछ भी promises करते हो, right? But marriage is like when serious conversation happens, because job changing is like a life-changing decision like marriage. Right? You get impacted socially, you get impacted financially, you get impacted professionally, right? So that's when you have opinions from your family. I mean, recruiters generally make fun that I want to talk to my family before I accept this offer. I understand their pain, right? Because it's a life-changing decision for them. Just because he want to talk to his family doesn't mean that uska decision-making capability mein kuch galat hai. No.
Got it. One question from Bhavya: how do you tackle time challenge when one is hiring for a totally new role that is not new even to a hiring manager? The challenge of discovering the role and target candidate takes away curtail time and has caused a desperate hire sometimes. Rishi, you want to take this up?
Yeah. So there's no right or wrong way to do this, Bhavya. And I've seen multiple cycles, especially when you're building a company from scratch at times, right? The only way that we've had some headway as we do this is have the hiring manager document the problem statement better as to why do we even want somebody to come in and do what, right? And then build an entire evaluation plan well in advance before you even start looking at resumes. So do more homework in terms of defining the problem statement, defining the role, how will you evaluate? If you have a panel, what will each person in that panel evaluate? And then when you have a handful of candidates go through that process, the definition of what's good for all those evaluation criteria becomes a lot more clearer. So that's the only way that has worked for us. I'm sure there are other ways, and I would love to hear more. But that has worked wherein you did not go on a on a blind-sided hunting spree, so to say, and spoke to X number of candidates just to define the role better. Rather, define the role better and then go out to hire. Right? That's my take on that.
Yeah. So one thing is, from a hidden talent perspective, what I can conclude from both of you is, you develop a business acumen, you build a business acumen. There is another set of talent pool which is unlocked for you. Is it fair to say that, which is beyond your Boolean searches or X-ray searches? When you build a business acumen and you go to your search in the same tools, you need not to go to unique places to find a talent. You go to the same usual places where you are, but with a different perspective of looking at the talent. There is a different set of talent pool will keep appearing in front of you, offline, online. Is that fair to say, or you have anything to add there?
Absolutely. I mean, if you don't know your destination, we cannot expect you reach, right? You have to know your destination.
Yeah.
What kind of person we need to have, right? And I think it is very important. It is right, tools, right, processes, procedures. These are all enablers, right? But first thing that we need to do is we have to enable ourselves to be the strategic partners, right?
Basically.
Business, technology. There's no harm. I mean, I think I always, whenever I get into some discussions like this, I say that tech acumen ke liye, you need not read let us see. There is a book by our own Unacademy head of products, which is called Tech Simplified. Right? It is even a school kid can understand what is different roles in software development. Right? I think it is very easy for everyone to understand, and that should be your pursuit. अगर आप यही career build करना है, तो ये सब आपको you have to learn the kind of businesses that the companies are doing, how is tech evolving. Keep a tap on the tools which are coming, right? Keep a tap on how industry is moving in your own function, in other functions too, right? Unless you don't keep a tap on what's happening around, right, it is very difficult that we can have a long term in our career, because आंधी तो आ रही है in form of AI, right? We have to be all prepared कि how can we up our game. And I think Hari,
you said आंधी AI का नहीं है ना, John. आंधी basics का है. That is
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So,
it's an erosion of basic that leads to a lot of these problems. And I agree, right? I think as long as you are aligned to what the organization is trying to build, like what and the why, if you think about just from a product sense, right? What are we trying to build as an org? Why are we trying to build it? And then defining the how of building it, I think from a talent perspective becomes a lot more clearer, right? And I think that's exactly what John mentioned as the business acumen, or just understanding basic business, right? Understanding tech, you don't need to write code, you don't need to read code, but just having a functional understanding of, hey, this is what, and this is how it works, right? At a high level, that you can create an elevator pitch maybe and talk to a candidate. I think that's the most important thing. You rightly pointed out, the problem is erosion of basics, because a lot of these tools that exist are making life simpler, and a lot of people start with them instead of starting with the basics, right? Yeah. So they are so used to them that once you remove those tools from the equation, they struggle to really figure out, how do I perform given that I don't have this tool right now, right? So I think it's going back to the basics, just understanding what recruitment means in the first thing, right? You can call it recruitment, sourcing, talent acquisition, whatever you want to call it. But the crux remains the same. You are in the business of helping people, and you are helping your business by hiring people, and you're helping your candidates by helping identifying a new role for them, right? So that's the basic. Stick to it and then build from there.
So I think another thing is conveniently labeling the data or a pool also: passive talent, active talent, this talent, that talent. So if you stick to the basics, all comes into one pool only, where you need to handpick the right pool. So there's nothing like you need to label hidden talent, passive talent, something like that. You understand the business, then your only one pool comes, and all of them falls into the same pool. You just need to handpick the right ones and put them into the interview process, kind of a thing. So thank you so much, John and Rishi. It was wonderful. I think 55 minutes, it just gone by like that. Thanks for sharing your inputs. For our audience, I'll share the recorded version also to all people who cannot join. Also, I'll send the recorded version. And John reminded me of one thing. I have some good collection of personalized email templates. I'll share it with the audience also as a free source. You can use that. We have a surprise guest here, Victor, waiting in the lobby. So I'll just allow him here. Hello, hello.
You're on mute, Victor.
You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
देखो जब हैंगओवर ज्यादा होता तो आदमी ऐसा ही दिखता है राइट मोर इम्पोर्टेंटली ऋषि को तिहाड़ जेल से अभी छोड़ा गया है तो उसने ड्रेस एकदम सही पहन रखा है और जॉन उसी जेल का जेलर हुआ करता था तो जॉन का अटायर एकदम सही है Anyways, the reason why I'm here is because things are cooking up in our space, and I thought I'll quickly jump in and tell you a little bit about Fiesta. Is that okay, Hari?
Yes.
Awesome. So देखो बहुत सिंपल तरीके में बोला जाए तो until now we have a very glorified representation of voices across the globe. There is a US representation of voice, there is a North American representation of voice, there is a UK representation of voice, but the Indian recruiting voice has always been underrepresented, right? And the Indian ecosystem works very differently, right? There's a SaaS boom which happened in the last 6-7 years. Manufacturing has been our mainstay, pharma has been our mainstay, and there's so much more to our voice which has been underrepresented. We wanted to give a platform of real stuff out there. Now, the second value prop of Fiesta and why some idiots like us came together to build Fiesta is because fundamentally every event that you go to, including I have been to a bunch of events, right? There's hardly any takeaway. I mean, that's it, right? There's the same regurgitated talk, same assimilated thought process, everything. You cannot implement it on your job. You cannot help your team to get faster, better, etc. You need something that actually takes it from just being another lip service to something better, right? And that is how Fiesta happened. At this point in time, Fiesta is promising you just this. One, it will not be one of those regular events. Fiesta is about, changing or writing the grammar of the recruiting 4.0 version of things. 300 hand-picked brightest minds in recruiting who are cutting through the noise, who are doers, executors, thinkers, and real actionable strategies being present in front of you. Now, the interesting bit about this one is we just released the first speaker, who is the founder of People Strong, Pankaj Bansal. He's the one who wrote the playbook. He also is the advisor on Government of India's Foundation on Workforce Remanagement and Reimagination, right? That's just the first name. We have another 10 names to come up. Things are getting excited. If you want to join Fiesta, we would be happy to have you. Although this would be refined, filtered, and then on the other side of things. So that's one part of the story, which is like, how can you attend? How can you sponsor? But the last bit is important. It takes a village to raise a child. So just in case you have something to add value to Fiesta, we're more than happy to have you. Obviously, I would be the sexiest one in the room. You can't help me with that. But if there is knowledge on social media, on agenda, on everything else, we'd love to have you. That's the pitch. Fiesta 2025 is coming to Bangalore. And this is for 2 days, 48 hours. This is happening in Bangalore, 23 and 24. We'd love to have you. I'm in partnership with John, Sai, Hari, Ashish, and a bunch of other people who will come to the forefront in the coming days. I would love to have you. And if you need anything, please feel free to reach out to me. Check out recfiesta.com. Things are live and tickets would be available soon. That's the pitch. Kharido. नहीं खरीदना तो बेचो. नहीं बेचना तो लॉग आउट कर जाओ.
Yeah. Great. Then.
John,
So,
anything else from you?
I think this is a good platform. Glad to be part of this, right? That's when we all learn from each other on how we can up the game of the recruitment fraternity from Indian context.
Amazing.
So from my side, only one thing is a Fiesta is for the recruiters and by the recruiters, and this is exclusive for talent acquisition professional for all, right? So in-house partners, executive search partners, all one. So this is our event. This is for our.
We don't talk about HR. Let's be very clear. I don't want to talk about HR philosophy.
Okay.
Let's
But-
just only go dense and anal on talent acquisition for a change. Everything from every edge corner of the table, right? I don't care if you're a freelancer. I don't care if you're a sourcing expert. I don't care if you're a recruiting expert. I don't care if you've done it manufacturing. I don't care if you've done it at a unicorn Series E stage or beyond, IPO stage. I don't care. If you are obsessed on talent acquisition, I would love to have you. It doesn't matter if you have a one team member solopreneur or if you have 10,000 people reporting it to you. I don't care. Come to the biggest party. This is happening right now. This is Asia's first recruitment specific event only. Right, and we got a lot of time. I'm trying to grow abs and do a belly dance when we see you on stage. ऐसा मैं बोल सकता but बोलूंगा नहीं. But बाकी देखा जाएगा.
Okay, so we'll wrap this up in the interest of time. I think Rishi, John, thanks again. I think there are other questions from Anuradha and few others. Rishi, John, when you get time, please respond to those questions in the comment section. Reminding you, I'll keep posting the questions as they come in. Thank you so much. Thanks, Victor. Thank you all.
Bye,
Thank
people.
you.
Anuradha, I will write you the answer. Rishi जवाब नहीं देगा, मैं दूंगा, मैं देता हूँ.
Anuradha, I've outsourced it to Victor.
Bye, people. Love you.
Bye, folks. Thank you. Bye.